The worst thing that can happen to a person is not knowing when they're wrong. The worst thing that can happen to a society is somewhat on the same lines, not admitting when you screwed up, when you're doing something that's not getting the results you're supposedly looking to achieve. If you're incapable of doing that, you're incapable of real change and therefore achieve the objectives you're apparently trying to get. Folks, Fernando doing a video for More Survivalists, and yes, yet another night of peaceful violence. Interesting contradiction from the mainstream media, which is quite typical at this stage. We've already seen how the white supremacist peaceful protesters were basically considered terrorists because they peacefully protest and rallied with guns, which is their right, but apparently that's still not good enough. Yet at the same time, if you're burning down a city, looting, attacking people, murdering people, that is considered a response to the social injustice you are suffering. The social injustice, yeah, definitely what happened was wrong by any metric you could possibly look at. A man handcuffed with a knee to his neck pressed until he's killed. Notice one thing though, you don't see a whole lot of that stuff happening in many other places. Now, I'm mentioning this because I was recently attacked in my previous video by someone, apparently a black woman, I assume, giving the little picture, and it is very interesting to see how some of these people when I say some of these people, I mean these social justice warrior types. They will attack you based on your race, which was brought up, and they will attack you based on your nationality, which was also brought up. Interesting how the xenophobia, the racism, apparently they don't even realize when they're doing that. So it was brought up by this person. You know, I have pretty thick skin. I've gone through quite a lot in my life, and you know, I'm not going to be getting upset over it. But it's still fascinating to see how people that supposedly stand for something, they are in themselves the cause of why this is all happening. When you look at someone like me and you know, you feel that you have the right to label me based on my ethnicity, I'm Hispanic, 100% Hispanic. It doesn't get any more Hispanic than me. That's just the way it is. And yet this person felt that, you know, it wasn't I don't know, wasn't good enough because based on my ethnicity, I couldn't possibly understand what she was going through. And then it was adding even more insult. Then it was brought up that I couldn't possibly know because I'm not there. I'm not in, you know, I'm not an American, so I couldn't possibly understand. Let me just say this. I pretty sure have a much better idea of what a lot of this is in terms of what happens when a country goes up in flames, when you have rioting, when you have civil unrest. I've seen quite a bit of that, and I can tell what's happening and what's not happening. So when I see a group of people peacefully protesting, yes, I understand that's going on. At the same time, when I see a bunch of looters stealing and destroying everything, I'm also pretty aware of that. I'm not stupid. I'm pretty aware of these things. I have lived in the United States. I have lived in other countries. This person was using the argument of, I don't go and express opinions on where you live. First of all, you don't even know where I live. Second, you probably cannot express any opinions because you have no experience whatsoever in this type of thing. You have no idea of what the culture of where I'm living is. You don't even speak the language. You have no fucking clue what you're talking about. Of course you have no opinion. Now, if you had an opinion, I would respect that, and I would not label you based on your skin color, your looks, or your nationality. For people that do that, you are a racist. When you're labeling people based on their skin color, you are a racist yourself. You don't have a claim of using that tag on others when you are the perfect example of such a problem yourself. And same thing with xenophobia. If you don't know what xenophobia is, look it up. You should know, because that's what you are. If you do that sort of thing, if you feel that people based on their skin color, if you think that people based in their nationality, place of origin, have no rights or couldn't possibly know something because of where they're from, that's exactly what you are, and you should know that. So this video is about that. It's about expressing my views. I mean, this is my channel. If you don't like it, you're more than welcome to go watch something else. There's probably a video of someone eating something stupid, or burning crap, or shooting a gun, or whatever it is you prefer looking. No one is forcing you to watch this. Now, if you're interested, here is my take. What I see is, and again, this is my take based on quite a bit of experience with these sort of things. I've seen more looting, rioting, protesting, rallies, roadblocks than 99% of you guys watching this. Definitely, if you live in the United States, that is the case. Now, I got very good at identifying some of these things. So basically, you have three elements involved here. You, of course, have a rightful claim by people that are upset with a level of violence by the police that is, a problem and something that should be addressed. This goes a lot deeper than just race. This goes into the militarization of the police. This is something that if you do live, if you've had experience in living in other places, you notice the difference right away. You see how the police in the United States has become very militarized. I'm criticizing again, yes. This is what you do when you are trying to become better. If you don't have the ability to criticize and see what's wrong and see what needs to be improved, then you'll never improve shit in your personal life or in your society. This is key. This is a basic element. And this is definitely part of modern survivalism, at least the way I see it, in terms of improving your position, improving your strategy, always trying to do that, never settling for whatever it is that you have. But one of the things you definitely see is that as years go by, there is an increase of this militarization of the police. Cops are mostly great people. I know a bunch of them in different countries, and this is maybe why I can tell you the difference of how policing is different from one place to the other. Most definitely, the policing in the United States is a lot more militarized, which is, it has its pluses and its pros and cons. Again, I have a lot of friends in military, again, from different countries. And by large, they're mostly fantastic people. Of course, you have bad people everywhere as well. Police, any other line of work you could possibly think of, you have people, they're basically human beings. They come in all skin colors, religions, attitudes, good, bad, and everything in between. But you see this, it's probably because of how a lot of people with a military background end up entering the police force, and they bring lots of the things they learn from the military life into police, and that really is not all that good an idea, because the kind of rights you should be upholding as a law enforcement officer are very different from what you would be doing in terms of foot shouldering in a foreign nation. It's completely different, but it's very difficult to separate. It takes a huge, massive effort, and not everyone is capable of doing going in that switch full mode. So that is maybe why a lot of this is happening. Then there's also the growing of government constantly feeding and growing like a huge, massive monster. Government should be, again, this is just my take, your opinion may be completely different. My take is that the government should be minimalistic. A government should be small and efficient. It should be minimal the way it interferes with your life. Now, government likes feeding itself and likes getting more power for itself, and this is also what's been happening, to the point where you have even some of the tiniest, smallest departments have a massive arsenal, and they kind of need a way of using that, or an application for that armored personal carrier that it just got, and it just has not much of a role, and you bring that to the streets, you put that in the streets during a protest that may be in fact peaceful, okay? So that may well be the case as well. again, just my take based on what I see and my experience and what I understand about these things. That would be one of the big differences. If you're trying to honestly look for a solution, why is it that this is happening? This idea that law enforcement cannot be held accountable because of their tough line of work. Dude, a lot of people have very tough jobs. Yes, police is definitely one of those. Military is definitely one of those. Being a nurse also sucks. Being a doctor in an ER can also be quite stressful. Being a fireman can be pretty crappy as well. Being one of the guys that call those, this airline dispatcher guys are playing with people's lives, and if a fraction of a second gets screwed up, they kill a bunch of people in a plane. That's also a pretty stressful job. You shouldn't be getting a free pass when you screw up beyond what's even reasonable for human error. If you have a guy on the floor and you put your knee on the guy's neck and you actually kill him, and you know what you're doing, then you've just committed murder. And it's just made a lot worse because you are in a uniform. You are in a position of power compared to the rest of society. Especially in the United States. Again, big difference. In many other countries, police have the respect, have the authority. They don't have that much power. They don't get that much freedom in terms of, anything that slightly looks a little bit wrong, and you just put a couple of bullets on a guy, and there's a good chance you're going to be getting away with that. That is not nearly as likely in many other places. Maybe that's why it's not likely to happen either in many other places. So, something to look into, something to consider. Is there an element of racism involved? Probably for some people it most definitely is. Maybe for some people they see someone that looks black and they immediately assume black guy in a white neighborhood, that couldn't be good. That segregation, that type of social divide that has been going on, and it's many times politically fueled. That is also another element. Basically, in terms of what you see in terms of the current protests in the United States, you have to understand three elements here at play. On one hand, you have the people that are really peacefully protesting. You definitely see that. You turn on the TV. Go watch YouTube and make up your own mind. Don't listen to what CNN, Fox, or anyone else has to say. Make up your own minds based on what you're actually seeing. One of the few good things with all this access to information that we have is that if you're smart, this is a key element in terms of self-criticism, in terms of understanding and processing information. Be clever. Be fucking smarter than you actually are. Make an effort to do that. Be critical with yourself. Question yourself constantly. Is this assumption that I'm making right? That's the only way in which you will be able to elevate yourself beyond the horrible average mass of people that cannot have an original thought of their fucking own. That's the only way you'll achieve that. So when you see all these clips, not just one, because one of them could be something put together, it could be fake. But once you have a variety and a number of clips and scenes and videos, you form an image, you form an opinion of what's going on. You see peaceful people protesting. You see people that are walking, that are respecting the order that's being imposed by the police, because you cannot have a society without a minimum amount of order, even when peacefully protesting. So you have that. And I say it's the majority of people by far. The majority of people are in fact peacefully protesting. Then you have criminals. Then you have the guy that is not doing any of that. He's just like, okay, what am I looting today? What am I burning? What crap am I burning up? That is another element. That's the second element that you have involved in mixed there in this situation unfolding right now. So you have peaceful protesters, but you also have criminals. You have what Trump correctly called thugs. And everyone went up in flames like, oh, he's calling protesters thugs. No, he's calling thugs. And thugs are just that. You have peaceful people protesting. You have thugs that are burning crap up, and they're looting, and they're stealing, and they're going after ATMs. And I was just watching a guy that had climbed up to a post, and he was just ripping off a sign from the street. That is, anarchist, some crazy person, some criminal, some deranged person destroying public property, your property. And it was also very interesting, another clip of a young black woman, that she was extremely upset at some of these people destroying her neighborhood. And she was saying exactly what I'm saying here. This is not the right way of doing things. You're not protesting. You're just destroying our fucking neighborhood. This is where we live. If you rip off a sign with the streets or a bus stop, then that's something I'll be left without. Me, I live here. You're destroying my neighborhood. Go destroy your own neighborhood, or don't destroy anything. But these are people that come to these places just to destroy and cause havoc and unrest and tear down the system. And this brings us to the third element you need to understand that is being at play here. You have those criminals, you have peaceful protesters, you have a third element, which is the infiltrators, the disruptors, the people that are doing this, that have been waiting for this for years to take the opportunity and just destroy property. Maybe they're well off economically. Maybe they don't need to steal anything. Maybe they're not criminals in terms of stealing property for profit. Maybe they are more along the lines of what a terrorist would be. And this is something that was also brought up. There's no. Someone said in a previous comment, there's no definition for terrorism. Get yourself a dictionary. Open it, look it up, and yes, there is a definition for terrorism. It's actually quite well settled what a terrorist is. A terrorist is a person that uses violence so as to achieve a political objective. That's basically what a terrorist is. Look it up, you'll find that definition in most dictionaries. It's something going to be along those lines. Using violence, scaring people, terrorizing people to achieve a political objective. And if you go a little bit further into that, it's people that are trying to achieve a political objective through violence because they haven't, and this is very much true of the far left, anarchist, Antifa, communist assholes. They're trying to achieve what they cannot achieve through votes because no one fucking votes them. No one wants them. So they want to impose their ideology through violence, through deception, trying to trick people. So that is what's going on as well. There's an element of that there as well. It may be something of a different garden variety. You may have someone that's more of an anarchist that's just trying to bring down the system and just bring everything down, burn everything down, and just destroy everything. You have some of that. You have the Antifa guys there as well. This is something I brought up years ago in my channel. If you've been following my channel for some time, you know this is something I have mentioned many times. You see these. These are the far left, the socialists, Marxists, and they've been active in South America as well. Quite recently, they were doing the same thing in Chile as well. And it's not just that it's a guy from Venezuela is trying to Chile. There are some of those as well. But these are, cells. Trump was actually very correct in calling them terrorists because basically that's how they operate. So just like you have like an Islamic terrorist that may be homegrown, you may have a far left terrorist. You may have a terrorist that's also homegrown, and he's just waiting for this to do what his little red book says that he should be doing. Spreading fear, terrorizing communities, destroying, burning, looting, and causing a lot of that. You see them. When you go on YouTube and you watch many clips like I just suggested, you just see them. And if you have just a little bit of an eye, if you have just a little bit of experience, you see them physically. They have a certain demeanor about them. They dress in a certain way. Usually it's going to be, black clothes, tight, skinny jeans. Seems to be one of the favorite things. Crappy shoes that no one... one of the things you can tell when if it's... sometimes people were saying police infiltrators. You know how you detect someone that's a police infiltrator, military? Usually they will have adequate footwear. They will not compromise. So if it's like if it's a law enforcement officer, dressing like in civilian, well, yeah, they're civilian as well, but dressed in street clothes, usually they will not compromise on footwear. They will have somewhat of an adequate footwear. When you see the Antifa ones, they will have the cheapest, crappiest, all-star type of a footwear that is not something you will typically see on someone with military or police background. The build as well, the build of the person. Some of these guys have obviously been hiding in their mom's basement for way too long. And I don't mean that like ironically, I actually mean that. You see 50-pound, 5 feet tall thing that barely looks like a human being, all dressed in black with a face covered and burning shit up. That's not likely to be a police officer. So as to get into the academy, so as to get into the military, you have to have a minimal level of fitness, some kind of physical strength. If not, you're not going to be cutting it. So the way in which some of these people are built, you definitely see that they're not fit enough, they're not strong enough, they don't have the body so as to be military or police. They are most definitely exactly what they seem to be, which is this unsocial freaks, Antifa types. You see that a lot, and you see people protesting and calling them out. Hey, cut that out! And many of them are in fact white, pale as a freaking ghost. They are as white gets, and they're dressed in black, and they're burning crap up. They're burning the neighborhoods of these black people that are protesting. Many of them doing so peacefully. So that is also an element going on, and it's quite dangerous as well. It has been going on for some time. I did a video, I think it was last year. Some of these guys that were marching with their guns and such, which is perfectly fine. You have a right to go out with your guns, just like the conservative types have the right to protest and rally peacefully, not breaking the law. That would be the big difference that CNN obviously cannot differentiate. When CNN says, look how they're attacking these peaceful protesters, and they didn't do any of that when the white nationalists were protesting. Well, maybe those conservatives that were protesting with their guns were not breaking the law, and they were not attacking the police. If you attack the police, there's a good chance that the police will respond. If you start burning down cities, yes, that's something that will have police respond. So that is something you have to keep in mind as well. So these folks are looking to achieve their Marxist dream through violence. Some of that, maybe you have like a degree on all of these things. Maybe someone that is not so much of a full-on Marxist, but they think that doing this they're going to be bringing down Trump and winning the election, and they're willing to do this. They're willing to destroy property, cause pain and suffering to society because they think of the greater good. Maybe there's something along those lines as well for some of these infiltrators. But that's exactly what they are. They're not peaceful protesters. They're not criminals. They're not homegrown hood criminals like people from that same neighborhood that they don't think twice about robbing their own neighbor. I've seen that myself. I've seen it firsthand how people will destroy their own community. I've seen how people will steal from their own neighbor. The same store they will expect to go, they were just buying from the day before. Okay, now I can go and loot this place. They will do that. Fortunately, it is a very small minority. Most people around the world are, not like that. They will respect the law. They will respect their fellow human beings. Most people are like that. But you have the other types as well, and you definitely have some infiltrators moving from one place to the other, starting crap with police, attacking police, trying to steer things up so as to achieve their political objective. Folks, if you like my take on survival and preparedness, as I always say, consider this book, The Modern Survival Manual, Surviving the Economic Collapse, and Street Survival Skills, which is my latest book. And this is the Spanish version of this book, which is the best-selling survival book in Amazon.es, the Spanish version. Folks, it's going to be all for now. See you in the next video. Have an awesome day.